Hi, my name is Jennifer Campus, and the topic that I chose is psychological disorder, also known as mental disorders. I find this topic very interesting and it helps me understand more people, like, let's say, homeless that are out in the streets talking to themselves. And I always wondered why or what's going on, so this topic helped me understand more. So I will be discussing anxiety disorder, PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and bipolar disorder. One of the psychological disorders is the anxiety disorder. What is an anxiety disorder? A person with anxiety disorder may respond to certain things or situation with fear. Everyone at some point in life experiences anxiety. You might feel anxious when you're faced with a problem at work or before taking a test. But anxiety disorder involves more than temporary worry or fear. During the 19th century and 20th century, the terms used to diagnose generalized anxiety included pantophobia and anxiety neurosis. Pantophobia just means fear of everything. And there are types of anxiety disorder. One of them is social anxiety disorder, which is the fear of or anxiety towards social or performance situations. Basically, a person just being afraid of being judged or what they think towards them. Another anxiety disorder is separation anxiety disorder, which is fear about being parted from people to whom they are attached. And children and adults experience this type of anxiety disorder. And what causes anxiety disorders? Well, let's start with chemical imbalance, which is just long lasting stress can change the chemical balance that controls your mood, which leads to an anxiety disorder. Environmental factors is when a person experiences trauma might trigger anxiety disorder. And lastly, inherited, which most anxiety disorders are tend to run in families. Some of the symptoms that someone can experience from anxiety disorder is excessive anxiety and worry, fatigue, restlessness, increase of muscle aches and or soreness, impaired concentration, and difficulty sleeping. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a disorder in which a person has difficulty recovering after experiencing or witnessing a traumatic event. People who have PTSD feel stressed and frightened even when they are not in danger. I remember a patient, I work in Mount Sinai, and one day this patient came in and told me he had PTSD. He was just like sharing his experience in the other location and how he felt. There is a insurance type that is called the World Trade Center, and this insurance helps out the 9/11 victims, cover their doctor visits, hospital visits, anything related with health condition. And he said that he cannot see a 9/11 number and that he doesn't understand how this location had all over the place 9/11. And at that moment, I did not understand how just a number can impact or remind them of the traumatic event. But now, after learning and reading more about post-traumatic stress, I understand anything can remind them of that horrifying event. Some of the symptoms of PTSD is at least one re-experiencing symptom like flashbacks, bad dreams, frightened thoughts, at least one avoidance symptom, which is staying away from events or places that remind them of the traumatic experience, or avoid thoughts and feelings that are reminders. And at least two arousal and reactivity symptoms, which is easily startled, difficult sleeping, having angry outbursts, and feeling tense. At least two cognition and mood symptoms, negative thoughts about oneself or others, distorted feeling like guilt or blame, loss of interest in enjoyable activities. Next is depression. Depression is a common and serious mental illness that negatively affects how you feel, the way you think, or how you act. Depression is different from sadness or grief. At some point, we experience the death of a loved one, loss of a job, or ending relationship. Often are difficult experiences for a person to endure. What is the difference? In grief, painful feelings come in waves, often intermixed with positive memories of the deceased. In major depression, mood or interest, pleasure are deceased for most of 2 weeks. In grief, self-esteem is usually maintained. In major depression, feeling or worthlessness and self-loathing are common. Some of the symptoms of depressions is feeling sad or empty, thoughts of death or suicide, ache and pain, lack of appetite, anger, fatigue, lack of sleep, and feeling guilty. Finally, we have the bipolar disorder. And bipolar disorder is a mental disorder that can cause unusual shifts in mood, energy, and concentration. People with bipolar experience high and low moods, known as mania and depression, which differ from the typical up and downs most people experience. Severe bipolar episodes of mania or depression may include psychotic symptoms such as hallucinations or delusions. And mania is just a period of great excitement. There are also three types of bipolar. The first one is bipolar disorder 1, which are people who have experienced one or more episodes of mania. People diagnosed with this type have episodes of both mania and depression and must last 7 days. Bipolar 2 are people who experience depressive episodes shifting back and forth with hypomanic episodes but never full manic episodes. And the last disorder is cyclothymic disorder, chronically unstable mood state, experiencing hypomania and depression episodes for over 2 years. Again, some of the symptoms are just really being excited for a long period of time, talking very fast with racing thoughts, becoming easily distracted, having overconfidence in abilities, engaging in risky behavior. And then bipolar disorder also includes depression episodes, feeling sad or hopeless for a long period of time, significant change in appetite, think about attempting suicide, feeling fatigue, problems with memory and concentration. There are different types of treatment for psychological disorders. That includes medication if needed, psychotherapy such as cognitive behavioral therapy and family-focused therapy, stress management groups, and lastly, support groups.